everyone. Really happy that you're here. Very excited for this event. Let me get all situated. Wonderful. Hi guys, thanks for being here. I'm not feeling 100% today, but I am really excited about this topic, and I know you guys are too. So I said, let's just push through, make it happen together here on this Friday. Lots of folks interested in this topic, not surprisingly. Is Psych Today still worth it? That's the big question. It's a question we've been sitting on and thinking about and talking about in our team and paying attention to. And so I just want to give you a little bit of what we're seeing and ultimately our recommendation for you to take and of course do what you will with, but based hopefully in strategy and wisdom about kind of just the general trend and what we're seeing. So really thrilled all of you are here. Thank you for saying hello in the comments. If you are joining me live, please let me know where you're joining me from. Andrea, Sarah, Marilyn, Rebecca, Beth, good to see you guys. Hi, Greta, nice to see you. Patricia, Angela. One of the benefits of you being here live is that you can ask questions. I want your questions. I value them. And that's actually why I love to do these trainings. So if there is something that you're wondering about as I'm going through today's material, I will revisit the comments and answer questions here at the end. So if you're catching the replay, guess what? I'm still happy to answer your questions. Just drop a hashtag replay into the comments to let me know that you're joining. And if you have any questions, that will bring that back up into my queue, and I can hopefully still support you, even if you're catching this, this weekend or next month or even next year. Who knows? These live around for a long time. Awesome. Virginia, Florida, North Carolina, New York, Florida, Ontario, Canada. Excellent. All of you have your own Psych Today markets. And so I'm thrilled that all of you are here and can probably, lend a little bit of your individual experience to this. So let's get into it. Well, actually, let's not get into it before I let you know who I am. I'm Anna. If we haven't met in this format before, I'm really thrilled you're here. I get to run this amazing Get Booked Out community. I think it's the best place on the internet. And what we're about around here is helping you be successful in your practice in a way that isn't just effective, because I believe that you deserve to get booked out and make a living, a comfortable living, a wonderful living, doing what you love to do, but also is authentic to you, that feels like what you're putting out there is aligned and genuine and authentic to who you are as a clinician, what makes sense for you, and your niche and your energy and all those kinds of things. So the reason we're here today to talk about Psych Today is because I am absolutely obsessed with helping you be successful. And I don't just mean in my programs and in our kind of paid offers. I mean all of you. That's why I have this community. I want to see you be successful. And if all you need is to watch these free trainings and gather the nuggets and put it into action, I'm thrilled. I literally lay awake thinking in the middle of the night sometimes, how can we help you guys get the best results? So that's why we're here today, because Psych Today has for so long been something that we have recommended and seen work for clinicians. And with kind of a trend of folks seeing fewer referrals and that sort of thing, it's important to us that we pay attention to that, that we're not just recommending strategies that perhaps aren't working, because sometimes we do need to be mindful of how strategies need to shift. And we kind of view our role as helping you see those things and make decisions accordingly. So that's why we're here. Let's talk a little bit about Psych Today first and foremost, before getting into kind of, is it still working? What's going on, that sort of thing. So Psych Today is allegedly randomized. So that means that if you load yourself up and you search your zip code or your city right now, you might see your profile on page 1. You might see your profile on page 10. According to this randomized algorithm, if I were to refresh that, or, probably not refresh it, probably be the same, but, look on an incognito browser or come back tomorrow, you might be on a completely different page. I say allegedly because it's not actually randomized. Unfortunately, Psych Today doesn't tell us anything about that. We do know that your placement is going to shift. So this isn't like a pay to play thing. You can't pay to be at the top of results like you can Google Ads. You can't optimize your profile to the point that it's always going to be in positions 1 or 2, but it does sure seem like there are some things that you can be doing to be kind of favored in the algorithm. I can't say with 100% confidence what those things are, I do think completing your profile to its fullest extent and updating it regularly are probably the two main ways that we can take advantage of that. So you may have heard kind of the anecdote or old wives' tale that, you should jump into Psych Today and change a period or a comma or a word every so often. I still stand behind that recommendation. But it's really important that we know that you are not optimizing your profile so that you're always on page one. That isn't how this algorithm works. The rest of how it works isn't super well communicated to us. And that's on Psych Today, and that is what it is. So that's one thing to know about how Psych Today works. Another thing, profiles with videos, and I've met maybe 2 clinicians in the thousands that I've served that were excited about making their video. So if you're sitting here and you hate being on video, you're not alone. But profiles with videos are shown more often. If you scroll Psych Today, you'll see like a row of videos you can engage with, those 15-second videos. You are literally increasing the real estate of your profile if you have a video. Not only that, but it very well might play into the algorithm. I can't say for sure. So profiles with videos are shown more often. Let's talk about the redesign. If you don't know this, Psych Today did a major redesign of the profile formatting in, I believe it was late April, early May. And many clinicians have reported that since the redesign, there's been a decrease in their referrals, the number of referrals coming in. And I'll get a little bit into kind of what we see on that. But what happened with the redesign is it was reformatted so that your profile copy is broken up. So if you think about it in a desktop version, you have your first paragraph, you have your video, any images, the other paragraphs, there's this handy sidebar that includes all of that content. Some of it is repeated. Overall, I actually like the redesign just as a user. I think that it was more user-friendly. I think it was more kind of streamlined and effective for what Psych Today wants to get out of a profile. It did feel like it deprioritized getting a potential client to your website. Psych Today actually did update that over the summer, and your website button is now a little bit higher. These aren't things you all need to concern yourself with detail-wise, but that's sort of what happened as far as the redesign goes. Not a whole lot happened on the browsing side. It was more on the individual profile side. The other thing I want to talk about as far as how Psych Today works so that we can, operate from the same place of understanding is that performance on Psych Today has always varied by location and primarily by how saturated your zip code is. The zip codes that you target. So you can target up to 3. If you are targeting a zip code that only has 30 clinicians, you might get better results than targeting a zip code that has 300 clinicians, because there are those as well. More pages of clinicians means fewer opportunities for you to appear in those first couple. So it has always varied by location and saturation, and that very well may be happening even more these days. So that's how Psych Today works. If you have any questions about that, like I said, put that in the chat. Happy to come back to those at the end. But I want to make sure we kind of dispel the myths around oh, my profile used to be on page 1 and now it's not, sort of thing, and making sure that we feel really good about just kind of the basics here. So that's how Psych Today works. Now I want to talk a little bit about what the strategy behind Psych Today is. I'm not going to go deeply into this because that's not what this training is about, but so that you are really clear on all of kind of the different strategic elements of your profile. There's of course the copy, there's the words, right? And a lot of what we talk about here in this group is about words, because at the end of the day, they're the number one driver in whether or not someone's actually going to reach out to you. So having a really strategic copy that speaks to your client, that highlights your specialties, that helps them feel seen and shows them how you can help, all those things are critical. One of the most critical pieces of your copy is what we call the hook. The hook is the first 1 to 2 sentences of your profile that someone can see when they're scrolling all of the different therapists in your area. The hook is what lets someone know, am I interested enough to click in, or should I just keep on scrolling past this person? So there's a big job that needs to happen there. Then there are your specialties. You can choose specialties in the back end of your profile to be displayed on the front end. It's also how people can filter you. So if they come in looking for instance, anxiety, they can actually filter all of the clinicians in their zip code by a particular specialty. So there's obviously some strategy there. Your headshot is critical in Psych Today, because not only is it accompanied by your hook and your name, those are literally the only things that are going to lead someone to click in. It's also what accompanies your video So it's not actually the video thumbnail, it's your headshot that someone clicks on and then sees your video. So your headshot has to be interesting and has to be professional and has to really connect with folks. Your video, I will talk all day long and I will die on the hill that if you're going to do psych today, you got to have a video or you are losing out on potential for the reasons mentioned earlier. And then there's the zip codes. Like I was saying, the zip codes that you target have a big impact on how often you're seen by clients. And so sometimes there's kind of a game to be played there. So there's some of the strategic parts of a Psych Today profile. All right. That's where we're operating from. Now let's talk about what we're actually seeing. Is Psych Today worth it? So many clinicians are reporting fewer referrals from Psych Today. That is a fact that many are. Many feel like it's due to the redesign. They sort of noticed a slowdown right around the same time as the redesign happened, which is about late April, early May. Like I mentioned, I don't have insight into the algorithm. I don't know if the algorithm changed majorly, but strategically from the outside, I don't see anything related to the redesign that would result in a significant drop off in referrals. One thing that's interesting to me about the algorithm that may have shifted now with the redesign, you can indicate if you're not currently taking clients. And for some reason, the algorithm doesn't care about that. And so sometimes you'll visit, you'll search in Psych Today and 3 of the 10 clinicians showed on page 1 aren't taking new clients, which is quite frustrating to you if you are and you're on page 5 and someone who doesn't take them isn't. So that's kind of an interesting thing. But even if that was one of the changes, we're not seeing the redesign as a significant driver in this. When we think about late April, early May, that was also the beginning of what was traditionally called the summer slump when things start to slow down. So I think that was part of it. And I think what's happening here is we are seeing Psych Today as sort of a microcosm of overall kind of what I call buyer behavior or like potential client behavior. Things are just a little bit slower overall. That's not to say you can't be successful right now. We're still absolutely seeing clinicians be successful. But I think Psych Today has sort of just been like this little micro example of a larger behavior change. That is something that we are also looking at and watching, and we're actually planning a training early in January on the trends that we're seeing and what shifts kind of need to be made at a higher level. But I just want to share if your thing has been like, oh, I think it's the redesign that did this. I don't know that it is. It might be because there might have been changes to the algorithm we don't know about, but there's nothing that I can see that Psych Today changed as a result of that redesign that would be impacting your ability to get referrals. I think instead what we're seeing is just kind of a larger trend with just fewer referrals in general. I don't say that to scare you because like I said, we're still seeing strategies work. But I just think that's an interesting thing to consider. I'm going to get into sort of why I think that in a little bit. We did a poll last month in the group. 207 clinicians answered. So it's not a massive group, but that's a pretty significant size. 69% of those clinicians reported getting at least one full fee client per year from Psych Today. 69%, so almost 70% reported at least one full fee client per year. 39%, so about 40% reported 3 or more clients per year, 3 to 20 plus clients per year. So about 40% are reporting at least 3 per year. About 70% are reporting at least 1. That's interesting. That's an interesting takeaway. What I think is really important to remember is Psych Today can feel like, well, I'm paying and I'm not getting clients. Psych Today is $30 a month after the free 6-month trial, which everyone I think should take advantage of. So that's $360 a year that you're paying. That's 2 to 3 sessions, depending on your hourly fee. Maybe not even that many, depending on where your fee is. For some of my clinicians, that's only 1 session for some of my clients. So the investment here, we have to keep in mind that if you're getting 1 single full fee client and you generally keep a client for 4, 6, 8, 12 plus months, we have more than paid for it in a single, with just one client in a year. So I think it's important that we also take note of that. The last thing that we're seeing just kind of trend wise, and this is not surprising, is that very niche specific profiles I'm talking like moms, entrepreneurs, social anxiety, law enforcement officers, very specific, we call those kind of micro niches. So very specific niches are actually tending to do better than very general ones, because there are so many general ones out there on Psych today, that those niche specific ones are kind of leaping off the page to the right client. So those are some of the things that we're seeing. I'm not seeing any questions, which is great. Keep that in mind. Please do ask those questions if you've got them. Am I still coming through okay? Ooh. Okay. Good. Hopefully. Let me know if I'm not. Although, how would you let me know? Everything appears to be good. All right. Hopefully you aren't asking any questions, because this is just making a lot of sense. Okay, good. Thank you, Trina and Andrea. Okay, so that's what we're seeing. The big question, is it still worth it? That's the question. Yes. At the end of the day, yes, I do think that this is still worth it. Let me show you why, and then let me walk you through our recommendation for you. Psych Today is still the first organic result. So yes, there are paid ads and BetterHelp and whoever else has taken up that paid ad space. We can't control that. Psych Today is still the first organic result when looking for find a therapist near me, anxiety therapist near me, lots of queries like that. Psych Today is still at the top. And for that reason, we can feel confident that if your marketing, if the job of your marketing is to meet your client at their point of need, Psych Today is allowing you to do that. Because Psych Today is meeting your client at their point of need when they head to Google and they're like, I don't know how to find a therapist, here I am. There has long been sort of the idea and sort of the narrative that Psych Today only worked for insurance clinicians. And while it can be very, very powerful for insurance clinicians, Google doesn't care. Like, people who are planning to pay your full fee, and people who are using their insurance are still showing up on Google looking for a therapist and seeing Psych Today. And so it's still an opportunity to meet your client at a point of need. Another thing about Psych Today is that it does increase your digital footprint. So when someone is searching for you by name, Psych Today is going to show up. Hopefully your website's going to be above that, but it still is increasing your real estate and your footprint on the internet. However much that means to you is up to you, but that is something to know. And based on what we see, if your profile is well optimized, it is likely to convert into at least one client per year and pay for itself. I recognize that one client per year does not necessarily change the game for your practice. So maybe it's not worth it. So I'm still saying that, is it worth trying? Yes. Is it right for you? No. And maybe not. That's for the recommendation I'm going to get into. But the fact is, chances are, like, the majority of clients, I think are comfortably converting at least one full fee client a year, and therefore making a profit on the investment that you're making in Psych Today. I think it's important to ask yourself, when it sounds like, well, one client, if you're a full fee clinician, how many clients do you need in a year? Especially if you do kind of longer term work. If you work with, many clients for 6 to 12 months, that's not even super long term. And maybe you want to maintain a caseload of 15 clients, then we're talking, you maybe need like 15 to 20 actual converted clients per year, maybe a little bit more. So if you got one from Psych Today, is that going to make a dent? No. Is it insignificant? No. Especially if you're kind of in the black as far as profit goes, right? Still getting your money's worth. So is Psych Today still worth it? I think for those reasons, it's absolutely worth every single clinician giving it a try. So here's my recommendation for you. Based on what we're seeing, based on the buyer behavior trends that we're kind of noticing at a higher level, here's what I suggest you do. If you don't yet have a Psych Today profile, start here. If you do have one and it hasn't been performing, start here. I want you to optimize the absolute living daylights out of your profile for 1 year. I want you to spend $360 optimizing your profile for 12 months. That means fine-tuning your copy. That means maybe you have a niche specific version that you test out. That means playing with your zip codes and being strategic about that. That means jumping in there and abiding by the old wives' tale and updating it, making sure there's a video, like doing everything you possibly can for 1 year. See what happens. The other thing that has to happen in order for us to really know if this is working is you've got to track your referral sources. Now, Psych Today tells you how many contacts you're getting directly from your profile, but more often than not, someone's going to visit your website before they decide to work with you, especially as a private pay clinician. So on your website, when someone reaches out to you for the first time, ask them how they heard about you and make sure Psych Today is one of those options. Because many times you will hear from clients directly from your website who may have originally found you there and you just don't know it. So that is critical. I pay full fee, private pay, for my personal therapist. I found her on Psych Today, and guess what? I reached out to her through her website. Obviously, that's an anecdote, but make sure that you're tracking and that you know. Then monitor results. Decide if this makes strategic and financial sense to continue for you. But this is, at the end of the day, quite low-hanging fruit for most clinicians. For $30 a month, you can literally get in front of hundreds of clients per day, clients who are landing there looking for the kind of help you can offer. And when well optimized, you have a good chance of converting a handful of those per year. As a private pay clinician, is Psychology Today likely to fill your entire caseload? It's not. It's most likely going to be kind of a supplement to your main marketing channels, SEO, website, networking, but it can be something, right? We all know that 1 to 2 clients, like that's not insignificant. 3, 4, 5, with 40% of these clinicians getting at least 3 per year, that's not insignificant. And so for that reason, we do think that this is still worth it. But it's also not worth just continuing and belaboring if, you know what, the results aren't showing up. I don't think that you should, if you had, Psych Today up for 1 or 2 years, optimized it really well, still not getting a client, because likely due to the saturation of your area and things like that, do you have to keep it? No. Because like I said, this isn't going to absolutely change the game in your marketing, but it does have the power to supplement it for very low effort. We're not talking about going out and like boots on the ground, sending, dropping off flyers at places and giving lunch and learns. We're talking about, 1,000 characters, filming a 15-second video and jumping in there once a week to change a word or two. And for that reason, I think that the effort and the low-hanging fruit nature of this does make it worth it. But I think we need to do it with strategy in mind, and also be okay with it not being the right fit for you after kind of putting in the full and complete effort to see if it can work. So at the end of the day, is Psych Today still worth it? Yes. Whether you should continue doing it forever depends. Depends on your niche, depends on your location, depends on if this makes the right sense for you and your practice and your caseload and your goals. But I think when you do it with these things in mind, it has the power to be a powerful tool for you. All right, I'm seeing some good questions in here. Let's see. How do you know what zip codes to target? Diana, great question. This requires just a little bit of kind of trial and error. The first thing I recommend doing, if you see people in person, you're obviously going to know where to kind of center your marketing. If you are telehealth, you have an entire state's worth of zip codes to experiment with. I usually recommend starting with actually doing a little bit of socioeconomic research, especially if you're looking at an entire state, about kind of those more affluent pockets, just because those people are generally more likely to be a private pay client. Not to say you can't get private pay clients from any zip code, but many clinicians have reported that. And then actually dropping those zip codes into Psych Today and seeing how many clients there are, how many clinicians there are. In my little zip code of Nashville, Tennessee, we have many zip codes around us. My little one has 3 pages of clinicians. That's all. Just 3 pages, which is small. If you were to search some of the larger zip codes in Nashville, there's tens of pages there. So actually dropping those in and trying out, targeting at least 1 or 2 of those less populous ones. This is an art, not a science here. You're not going to know exactly like, all of my clients are coming through this zip code, but it is worth testing and seeing, when I changed that, I didn't, there were fewer clinicians. I was showing up earlier more often. I got clients I didn't. So there's kind of some trial and error absolutely required here, but that's my recommendation as well. All right, Victoria said, right now you're working on your website and planning on marketing 3 interrelated specialties. Can that still be effective, or do you recommend having just one micro niche? Loving your template, by the way. Thank you, Victoria, for those kind words. We recommend when you have distinct niches, that you have niche specific versions of your profile and that you test niche specific versions, because it is hard to write a super compelling, more general profile when you have 640 characters in that first paragraph and then 360 in the following. We can't pack in everything there. And so we actually would recommend, in your case, Victoria, probably writing, they don't have to be completely different from one another, but writing 3 slightly different versions for 3 of your different specialties, and then monitoring which ones, do well for you. Ooh, good question, Diana. Is it better to be searchable by your business name or by your personal name? Personal name all day long, all day long. Clients come to Psych Today looking to connect with a person, not a practice. So I always recommend that you use your personal name, excuse me. If you're a group practice, I believe that every single one of your clinicians should have distinct profiles. Not only are you forming that one-to-one connection, you're also just increasing visibility for your practice as a whole. Because if you have 6 profiles for your 6 individual clinicians versus 1 for just your practice, you're taking up a lot more real estate. Now, you're paying for more, and I recognize that, but clients are ultimately there to form a connection with a very particular person. So that's my recommendation there. Francesca said, I keep my PT solely for SEO purposes. Other directories do not have the pull that PT has. That's exactly right, Francesca, that there are other directories out there. And quite frankly, if they're free, I always recommend taking advantage of them. There are 0 cons to a free profile, but Psych Today is the big dog, SEO wise and that kind of thing. And so for that reason, this is the primary one that we focus on. Tori, you asked if there's any similar data obtained from therapist.com and or Good Therapy, things like that. So I don't, because of sort of what we were just talking about with Francesca, I don't have a lot of insight into other directories. Mental Health Match does an amazing job, Ryan, who's the CEO over there. They do a great job of tracking things and trends and things like that. And they're really great about publishing those. But because Psych Today is kind of the big player, that's the main one we focus on. So I don't have a whole ton to share on other ones. Samantha, how often do you switch up the zip codes? Good question. Any changes that you make to your profile, I want to give enough time to actually tell you if they're working, right? The other thing is that we don't want to change too many things at once, because then it's hard to know, wow, what helped or what hurt. So I recommend keeping any changes that you made to your profile live for at least 3 to 4 weeks and monitoring how they do, recognizing that there's seasonality here and other factors at play, but that would be at least a handful of weeks there. Anna asked, what are your thoughts on Theravive? And I've heard about Theravive, but I don't know enough about it to have a firm recommendation on it. We like to sort of pay attention to the largest players, but I'm happy to hear of anyone's experiences there and sort of tuck those in our back pocket as well. Because what we talk about all the time around here is that building your practice is absolutely not one size fits all. Now, do I believe you need a website? 100% all day long. How you get people to that website, what directories you use, how you network, all of those things are up to you. And maybe Psych Today, maybe Theravive, maybe therapist.com are great for you. Maybe they're not. If it's low hanging fruit, right? If it doesn't take a lot of effort, money, time, then I would recommend it's worth a shot if you monitor results. We don't just want to be throwing spaghetti at the wall and seeing what sticks. We want to throw the spaghetti, optimize the spaghetti, then see if it sticks. If it doesn't, cool, move on, but not just throwing things out willy-nilly because we think we should. Making decisions from a place of strategy, which is why we wanted to do today's training, empowering you with that knowledge, and then allowing you to actually make informed decisions about what's working and what's not for you. Jill, any guys to the 15-second video content? Yes, Jill, actually, I would be happy to tag you in a post where I have talked to that and kind of what to include in that video. We also include a script in our marketing programs as well, but I'll tag you after this wraps up in a post with some info on how to do that. Alrighty, was this helpful for you guys? How are you feeling about Psych Today? Any other questions I can answer? I've been excited to tackle this topic, but also wanted to kind of sit on it and do our research so we could come to you with a viable recommendation. Anything else I can answer before we wrap it up here today? Alrighty. Sometimes comments lag a moment, so I just don't want to bail on anyone who had a question. Wonderful. Missy, I'm so glad that this was helpful for you. lots of viewers here today. I hope that this was helpful and awesome. I'm really glad to know that, Beth and Diana. Thank you for your feedback. We are here to see you be successful. We are here paying attention to what's working. Tell us, let us know what's going on. Your insight and your thoughts matter to us. Your success matters to us. So thank you. Oh, Katie, thank you. Someone recently said after looking at my website, they thought we'd be a great fit. Oh, I love when that happens. I want that for all of you all day long. So excellent. All right. I will tag those of you interested in the video script post here after we wrap up. But thank you for being here. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Keep us updated on your progress, and we'll see you next time. Bye, everyone.